come join. Thank you. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I'd want to welcome you to the Church of Perpetual Life. You have a unique opportunity as you walk into the sanctuary, and Bradley, I need you. Our usher, Bradley, is going to come forth with some forms, and on your seats you may see some wonderful magazines. Caroline, can I have one? Yes, please. Bradley, come forward. So we have these magazines, and they're going to give you a free subscription for a year to the Healing World magazine. If you'd like one, Bradley has some forms here. Just put your hands up. He'll be sure you get a form that you can fill out and get a copy of this. Thank you for bringing those and offering that for free. This is the only chance you're going to be able to have that. So there you go. All right. Okay, so Warren, I need someone to let our speakers know we are ready to almost get going here. And I see you're here. We seem to be missing Becca and Scott. Maybe somebody text Deborah that we need Becca and Scott up to come on up. Here at Perpetual Life, we hold faith in the impressive history of human achievements, and we see that we are on the brink. We are now on the brink of an age reversal revolution. Here we celebrate all holidays, from Hanukkah to Halloween, from Christmas to Buddha's birthday. In December, we celebrate the remembrance of the Resurrectables, which is akin to a Christian church's Easter celebration. In January, we celebrate James Bedford Day. Thank you to Ben Best for creating a holiday that has become marked by the mayor of Hollywood, and we have a proclamation on James Bedford Day. I believe that's the first time in the history where a cryonics holiday became recognized with that type of proclamation. Throughout the year, we enjoy celebrations and parties here at the church. So let me let you know that I'm going to have a special party. I'd like to invite you to my birthday party. You're all invited to my birthday party. It's going to be in 2461, my 500th birthday party in 2461. Please RSVP in 2460. I know some of you are going to make it. Sadly, some of you will not be there. Our next event here will be our first potluck. And that will be next month in July 26th, the fourth Thursday of the month. We'll be having a potluck, an open microphone. We'll have a movie from Arthur C. Clarke's Mysterious World series. So it's a movie night. We're going to furnish the popcorn and the infused waters, just like you have tonight. Please bring something delicious that you'd like to share. We're going to have a potluck special. We've not done this before, and we invite you to come back next month. Also, we are going to name Sir Arthur C. Clarke as a prophet here in the church. I'd like to tell you about the Rad Festival Auction. Radfest. Who does not know what Radfest is? Does not know what Radfest is? It's okay to put your hands up. All right, all right, all right. That's what I want to let you know about. The Radfest is in San Diego. There have been two of them. The third Radfest will be in San Diego this September. The Radfest stands for Revolution Against Aging and Death. RAD, R-A-A-D. Radfest is the largest gathering of longevity enthusiasts on the planet. This September 20 to 23, Ray Kurzweil will be speaking in person, live and in person. If you don't know who Ray Kurzweil is, Google the name. It'll tell you all about him, but I'll tell you something. If you are interested in going to the Rad Festival, I am here to help you to do that. I can help you. And let me ask, who has been to the Rad Fest before? Put your hand up. Paul. We're in good company. So if you have not been, you owe it to yourself to go. It's a wonderful event. At the first Rad Fest, Ray Kurzweil came in a computer form. He came by robot. And he'll be there in person this year, September 20th to the 23rd. See one of my AV team members, Warren, is in the back. Warren, wave to everybody. Warren's going to be able to help you to sign up for the RadFest after our event tonight. Paul can tell you a little bit about it. I'm happy to tell you all about it as well. Qigong. Jeff Smalley, where are you? Stand, please. Qigong is available here on Saturdays. Qigong is available through Jeff Smalley. Wave to us, Jeff. All right. So if you'd like to know more about Qigong, and if you'd like to sign up for his class this Saturday, you can do that with Jeff. Qigong is a holistic system of coordinated body posture and movement, breathing and meditation used to promote health, spirituality, and martial arts training. Here in the church, we're looking to do some social events, maybe some disco dancing, trivia night, bingo, concerts have been requested, and of course our hall downstairs is available for rents. We can do weddings and bar mitzvahs and baby showers, all kinds of fun stuff we can do here at Perpetual Life. So please be sure to talk with Deborah or myself. Deborah's the woman that signed you in and gave you the name tag. If you haven't met her yet, you came in the wrong door. Next year we plan to have a special medical exposition here with a musical festival, and we're working on that now, and a trade show as well. I'd like to welcome you now to our main event this evening. I'd also like to point out the fact that we are live streaming this event. Now we're going to have a Q&A after all of our speakers have spoken. Our speakers are going to give a presentation. They're each going to talk for a little bit. After that point, we're going to have a little bit of exercising, and then a Q&A. So you have the chance to ask a question. In order to ask a question, Bradley and Tiffany are going to have index cards, and if you haven't gotten them yet, we're going to be passing those out. And you do all have pens? We're going to bring you pens and cards as well. That way you can write down your question. Be sure to get your question into Bradley. Bradley, my usher, is going to pick up the question, bring it to me, and in addition to you, we have maybe 60 people online streaming today. They will also be asking questions. Rather than going through all of the questions, I'll be fielding those questions. Hopefully, I'll do a good job and not ask the same question 5 different ways. And they'll be directed to 1 or 2 of our panelists. If you're watching online, you'll be able to see now that there's a way for you to text your question into us, and feel free to do so throughout the evening. There is something called the longevity escape velocity. Who is familiar with longevity escape velocity? Wow. Everybody needs to go to the RadFest this September. The longevity escape velocity is essentially the idea of staying healthy enough so that you can catch the escape velocity of medical technology. As medical technology speeds up, as artificial intelligence is being used to find cures for different diseases and problems with our bodies, you can reach the escape velocity. The idea is to live as long and healthy as possible. We want you to be the healthiest, longest living people on the planet. Who's with me? All right. All right. That's what we want. And that's what we're all about here. Before we get started, it's important that I remind you that here at Perpetual Life, we do not endorse any businesses or any business practices. We do not endorse any businesses. Our presenters tonight may not be in agreement with each other, and that's okay. I'm okay with them disagreeing with each other on certain things. That's okay with you disagreeing on everything. We want diversity. We encourage diversity. And we encourage you to decide for yourselves what diet and what lifestyle is best for your bodies and for your mind. Each person is different. Nutritionists across the planet all recommend different diets and different lifestyles. Here tonight we will host an exceptional panel of 5 nationally known fitness, nutrition, and diet experts. Some churches like to do all your thinking for you. They like to tell you what you believe. But here, we want you to think for yourself. We want you to take charge of your health regimen. We want you to live as long as and healthy as possible. Our members are made up of Christians, Jewish people, atheists, Buddhists. We have a Muslim member, some Hindu members, agnostics. We're completely diverse. What brings us together, what unifies us, is our defining values of health and longevity. We all wish to live, to be as healthy as long as possible, to live as long as possible. That's what unites us. And that's what we are doing here at Perpetual Life. So although I'm a chaplain emeritus with Unity Church, I'm very happy to expand the diversity within our church here. I don't see Bob. Is Bob here from Flash? Is he downstairs? Great, great, great. So then he'll hear this on the TV. The head of Flash, Florida Atheist and Secular Humanist Organization, or the previous head, is a loyal member of our church, and I'm proud of that. We have many, many, many members, and if you're interested in joining, then be sure to see Deborah or myself as well. Hello, Debbie. People in authority are always telling us what they think we should do, what they think you need to do. But in a final analysis, your health can be determined by your choices. Your longevity is your personal decision. And here at this church, we do want you to use food as medicine and to catch the longevity, escape velocity, to live, to be the healthiest people at 150 that you can be. I truly believe that. I truly want that for us. Our panel of nutritionists. Let's welcome them to Hollywood. Our first speaker tonight is Dr. Brian Clement, who has spearheaded the international progressive health movement for more than 3.5 decades. He's the director of the renowned Hippocrates Health Institute of West Palm Beach. Over the last half-century, he and his team have pioneered clinical research and training in disease prevention using hundreds of thousands of participants who've provided volumes of data, giving Dr. Clement a privileged insight into the lifestyle required to avert disease, enhance longevity, and maintain vitality. Their findings have provided the basis for the Hippocrates progressive, state-of-the-art treatments and programs for health maintenance and recovery. Brian has written over 20 books focused on health, spirituality, and natural healing. Among them are Living Foods for Optimum Health, Longevity, and Life Force, which Dr. Colin Campbell calls one of the most important books ever written on nutrition. Brian is a devoted husband and caring father of 4, who, along with his wife, Dr. Anna Maria Gans Clement, where are you, Anna? Maria? There she is, great. She co-directs the Hippocrates Health Institute with Brian. In addition to his research studies, he conducts conferences worldwide on attaining health and creating longevity, giving humanity a roadmap for redirecting, enriching, and extending your life. Ladies and gentlemen, Brian Clement.
So nice to be here in Perpetual Life. Don't they do a great job here? Give them a hand to begin with. Well, I'm glad that everyone raised your hand when he asked how many wants to live well beyond 100. Well, it's becoming more possible almost by the week. You keep up with modern science and what we're learning in the hierarchy of nutrition today, very shortly, our children's generation will easily be living to 120, 140, and I believe by the second generation, my grandchildren's generation, it will be widely seen possible to be 200 years or beyond. So the work we've done as the very first lifestyle center on the planet Earth that began in 1956 before anyone was talking about natural health care, and people were dying commonly in their 50s at that point. So there wasn't a whole lot of discussion about quality of life and long life. So I want to start by just showing you a few different things that have come out in the last year or so. So here we are, the road to 100. And that road is a beautiful road if you keep your head together and fuel your body with the proper nutrition. But most of us don't have our head together, and we don't eat food. And you can't just pop pills, as good as a pill may be, and expect that to be enough. You've got to stay away from the entrapments that industry wants you to eat. It's sort of a vicious cycle. You eat the nonsense, and then you need the drug. And before you know it, you're one of the people that die at 75 years old. The life expectancy has now gone back down 3 years to 75 years old. So the very first life form, which I happen to take this every single day, along with 4 other algae on this earth, was blue-green algae. This goes back approximately 3.5 billion years old. So that life form has everything in it that has ever come after it. And by the way, if life on this planet exists another 100 million years or a billion years, that will have everything in it that comes after it. Isn't that amazing? Highest protein food in the world. But as we delve more into algae, we recognize that it has magical elements in it that we're just starting to discover, and the most abundant forms of phytochemicals that prevent aging and disease. So when we start to look at the futurist, the smartest people on earth with 180, 200 IQs, they get together periodically, and they go to places like Stanford or Oxford or Cambridge, and they say, what's it really going to look like in 2050? Well, here's what they're telling us now, solidly. Society will be living holistically in harmony with nature, not because all at once we become conscious, because we have no other option. When our resources are gone, which they're rapidly on the way out at this point, and we have 15 billion people inhabiting this planet rather than the now 8.5 to 9, we're going to have to start to live holistically. And so, as I always say, as goofy as we are, nature and the universe makes us accord to what should be happening eventually. When you start to look at some of the other things that we see, a 60% increase in food production will be required. Imagine that. Now, if we don't radically shift the way we're eating now and stop using animal-based foods, where it takes 50 acres to basically create 1 steer, and I used to eat about a steer a week when I was a kid. And then I'd milk the cow, It wasn't bad enough I was eating the steer, I was milking the cow at that point. Well, that nonsense has to go, as the United Nations tells us and every other organization, and we've been showing people since 1956. Being the very first holistic education center, we've had, as we mentioned tonight, hundreds of thousands of people that come to us, and we're best known for people coming and reversing catastrophic disease. So after everything else fails, people come from around the world. As we sit here now, there's 11 countries represented at Hippocrates. Occasionally, Americans are catching it a little bit now. You're waking up, but not often. And we basically see them get well from brain cancer, liver cancer, multiple sclerosis, the list goes on. But, it's not magic. Our species begins in the womb, developing physically, emotionally, spiritually. Our senses, personalities, and strengths, as well as our limitations, manifest patterns early. How many of you know that 85% of our personality is developed by 6 years old? And if you had the average parent, you're in trouble. Because I'll tell you, they had a lot of limitations and a lot of craziness in their heads, and they were teaching you fear and anger, and that's what you have to work your way out of. But Harvard did an amazing study, which I was really stunned to find out recently. Harvard scientists reported that temperament in one's youth determines health outcomes one way or another in maturity. And this wasn't a small study. They looked at generational. And here's what they observed. They found that the ways young men at Harvard explained bad events predicted health outcomes decades later. So, for instance, if you observe things negatively, what happened to you? I got in a car accident, my leg got hurt, my thumb hurts, I have a headache, Another guy says, yeah, I got in a car accident but left. Which one do you think decades later is going to be healthy? Well, you can guess. Today we spent 7 hours getting our CEUs for our license here in Florida, and the whole day was about happiness. And we talked about some of the latest science there. One of the things that I was stunned is since 1999, in the United States of America, suicides have gone up 25%. Isn't that frightening? So 25% more people are killing themselves because what happened probably when they were 5 or 6 years old. Pretty scary stuff. Heart disease, cancer, diabetes, Alzheimer's, etc., are the main culprits causing early demise. So most people, unless you wake up and become conscious and start to adapt what the rest of the universe is adapting, life, you eat life, you accept life, you have a joyous life, you're going to end up with one of these disorders. So early death doesn't come because it's a natural process. It comes because you're doing unnatural things, and the universe takes you out. It says, if you want to be a goofball, okay, we'll take you out. And they give you one of these diseases. New England's Centurion study, the largest study ever conducted on why people live 100. And they went one step further. Super centurions. Anyone know what a super centurion is? 110. Largest study ever conducted, just published recently. That the majority of centurions do not smoke, obviously, do exercise on a regular basis, and consume greatly a plant-based diet. First time I've seen in writing, because industry pretty much funds these university studies where they're actually saying now, overwhelmingly it's a plant-based diet that these people are on. And by the way, I have opportunities I'll do in Israel in 2 weeks to argue with doctors at universities, and we always have a good outcome with those arguments. Because they look and read out of the books, and we look and read out of massive experience with people for the last 62 years. Per capita, the United States has the most 100-year-olds. This report revealed that more than 80% of these long-lived people were women. So you women, let's give you a hand. What I said to my wife, let me tell you, you deserve to live longer than man. You had to put up with us for all those years. Previously, genes were considered to be predictors of longevity. Science has now discovered that long-lived individuals have the same exact genes, yet they do not trigger creating disease. So this whole crazy story that they're still teaching people at universities, getting their doctorate degrees and medical degrees, that it's genetic, is BS with a giant B and a giant S, I can tell you. We now know it's epigenetics. It has absolutely nothing. The way you think, the way you live, your environment, the choices you make, the work you do. A recent study came out and showed once again, I've read this numerous times over decades, that 80% of Americans and Europeans hate the work they do. They only gave them 2 choices. Do you love or do you hate? 80% said we hate the work we do. So I don't care what you eat, I don't care what exercise you do, you hate your work, you're going to croak early. You're going to find a way out. And most of you aren't crazy, so you're not going to jump off a bridge, you're going to eat hot dogs until you end up in the grave. And that's usually what people do. So epigenetics, lifestyle, mind, movement, and food. Think about, forget exercise, that scares people. I don't want to exercise. Movement. Mind, movement, and food combined with environment and life activities either turn on or turn off the genes of early demise. So I've watched this in my work of 47 years. And it's just shocking to me how rapidly the body recovers once you provide what the body requires and what the mind recovers. Every single guest that has come to us for decades, since I've been the director in 1980, gets psychotherapy. The most important thing we give people at Hippocrates is psychotherapy. Why? You don't change this, you don't change anything else. You still are the little 3-year-old daughter that watched your father beating your mother or talking down to somebody else. And that's sad. So here's the last thing I'm going to talk about. Okinawans, which we all know, oh, yeah, they live 100. And this. One of my good friends, Dr. Yu, a wonderful research scientist and one of us, basically went down and lived with the Okinawans. He happens to be Japanese-American himself. So he gave me the real scoop on this. That's what I've read in thousands of pages about the Okinawans. The longest-lived groups on Earth, along with 5 other groups of people. So we no longer have to guess what do people eat, how do they live to live to 100. We know it. And all of these 6 groups pretty much do very, very, very similar things. So there's a lot of other science and philosophies and hypotheses and all of that. But here's what we do know. They reveal that they flourish on high plant diets. Some of these groups either at 100% plants or at 90% plants. That's simple. Rarely consume animal foods. That's number one. They have jovial cultures. They're having a hell of a lot of fun. Most of you, the most fun you have is watching a TV series at night. That's fun. That will pollute your head. God forbid you watch the news. Especially now. This is like Meshuggah crazy world we're in at this day. What did they do today, you know? More people are watching the news now than ever, getting ulcers from it. And constant movement and exercise. So don't sit here and say, what's the next pill? Get off your ass, eat correctly, get your head together, and that's how you're going to live a long time. Not because you have to create something, the universe made a mistake, you're the one making the mistake. The universe is perfectly fine, always. The Mayo Clinic declared that aging well could be greatly enhanced on a molecular level with high-intensity interval training in our golden years. So this idea, the doctors who were worried about liability say, don't move, don't exercise, the opposite. The older we get, and I do this, in a couple of years I'll be 70, I exercise more today than I did in my 50s, 40s, 20s, and teens. And so the last thing I want to say, thank God Harvard finally came to its senses. At the beginning of this year, they declared aging a disease. That's what I want to leave in your head. It is a disease.
Excellent, excellent. Thank you, Dr. Brian Clement. It's always great to listen to you. He's spoken here before on our YouTube channel. There's a whole hour and a half with him here, and he's wonderful. Appreciate you being here. Next, I'd like to introduce Scott Joseph, the author of The Chimp Diet, and is now working on his second book titled Perfect Human Food. His interests are focused on nutritional biology and the natural selection of food relating to animals in general, but especially our closest living relatives, African apes. More specifically, the evolution of the human digestive physiology and the gut microbiome with respect to our original natural diet, in comparative to the current standard American diet, in relationship to modern-day diet-related illnesses, diseases, and longevity in hopes of solving global health issues. Scott Joseph.
Hi, hello everybody. My name is Scott. Nice to be here tonight. Thank you for the opportunity to Neil and everybody else here, and everybody, thank you for coming out tonight. I appreciate it. A quick question. I want to start off. Everyone, raise your hand if you eat healthy. See how many people in here eat healthy. Wow, we got a good group here. What's that? 80-90% of you guys. Great. So let's talk about what's healthy. First of all, let me start a little bit about my philosophy. If 95% of all health issues are diet related, we just heard a good amount of that from Brian. Could we prevent and cure virtually all known sicknesses that affect the human race if we simply ate the right foods? For example, animals in nature do not develop diet-related diseases and illnesses such as heart attacks, cancers, strokes, Alzheimer's, obesity, and hundreds of other diseases that affect us. There are millions of species on this earth that only humans, cats, and dogs get sick. Once again, millions of species, amphibians, birds, fish, mammals, reptiles, insects, only humans, cats, and dogs get sick because they instinctively eat the foods that are specifically designed for their species. So then, according to our closest living relatives, chimps, who are 99% genetically and biologically like us. So, for example, chimps are closer to us than they are gorillas and orangutans. We are closer to chimpanzees than horses and zebras. And I could go on, but without the smell, we're over 0.4% exactly alike. So could we prevent and cure virtually all known illnesses and diseases by simply following their or our original natural diet? So that's what we're going to talk about. And of course, mostly fruits and some lettuce, leaves. So let's talk about animals really quick. We all see lots of animals. How about lizards? All the lizards you got, I bet one thing in common, we've never seen one fat lizard. We've never seen one lizard that couldn't scurry across the patio. We've never seen one lizard that looked like it was sick. We've never seen one bird that looked like, we've never seen one weight bird in our lives. We've never seen a bird that couldn't fly through the air. How come every single bird we see is always beautiful? It's always in perfect shape and in perfect health. Every single fish, gosh, how many fish have we seen? You guys have all seen, if not millions of fish, hundreds of thousands of fish. Not one of them is overweight. Not one of them has cancer. Not one of them has heart disease. None have stroke. None have headaches. None have Alzheimer's. Nothing. So how can all these billions of animals on this earth be completely healthy and humans, cats, and dogs are a train wreck? Right now, about 25% of us will get a cancer. 25% of us will get a heart disease. I mean, strokes and Alzheimer's and everything is just taken off through the roof. But yet right outside the window is everything health. If you think about everything that we want is energy, a great lean body, we want to feel good, think good, and never get sick. It's already been done. It's right outside the window. Billions and billions of animals are all living exactly what we want. And as far as longevity goes, if on a comparative basis, if we look at all living creatures on the age that they mature, for example, humans mature about the age of 18 or 20, and let's just say we die at the age of 80, we look at all animals on the same comparative scope, we live 4 times our maturity age, right? We mature at 20. Most animals die between 10 to 15 times their maturity age. We should be living 150 years, actually about 165 years. We should be living to 165 years just according to a single other bumblebee and ant and snake and turtle out that window. So we're definitely doing something wrong. Also, if you want to talk about age, let's see, there's a bear over there. Of about 50 years old. Anyone have any idea how old is that bear? Is it 1 or is it 50? What that parrot up there lives to be about 120 years old. Anyone have any idea? Is it 2 years old or years old? There's a fox over here. Anyone have any idea if that fox is 1 year old or is it 17 years old? We don't know. Has anyone ever looked at a turtle or a snake or a lizard or a giraffe and said, how come we always look at animals and think they look beautiful and we say, God, that thing looks old, or God, that thing is sick, or God, that thing is, you want to try that? Check. Oh, wow. Wow, that thing, I think the battery's dead in that one. I sound good now, don't I? So isn't that amazing about animals? They're always in perfect health and in perfect shape, and we never know how old they are. But I mean, I can look at almost everyone in here and tell you how old you are, and I can look at our dogs and our cats and almost pretty much tell you how old they are. So, what do squirrels eat? Nuts. They eat only nuts. They eat one thing, and they're vibrant in health. They're not eating this amount of fats, that amount of proteins. They're not eating some omega-3s. They're not worried about their biotin or how much calcium they're getting. They just eat the freaking nuts. And their health is way better than ours. Next. Sheep, lambs. What do sheep or lambs eat? Grass. They eat one thing, freaking grass. And they're beautiful, in perfect shape and perfect health. Us humans, we gotta have a pyramid. Grains, fruits, vegetables, meat, dairy, oils, sugars. We gotta have all that stuff, don't we? They eat grass. And they're blowing us away in their health and their longevity. And we eat all these foods, and we got all this all figured out. Sharks, what do sharks eat? Fish. They eat one thing, freaking fish. And they're way healthier than we are. 1,000,000 times healthier. Way more energy. They live much longer in a comparative way. Lions, what do lions eat? Meat. Antelope, gazelle, whatever we want to call it, it's meat. Again, they eat one thing, and they're in perfect health and in perfect shape and live much longer than us. How come us humans haven't figured this out? We all know what they're supposed to eat, but if I go pick up 100 magazines, they're going to tell me 1,000,000 different things that I should be eating. I should be eating this much protein. Does that lion care how much protein it eats? No, it just eats the freaking antelope. The squirrel eats the nut. Do they care how much fat is in the nuts? No, they just eat the nuts. It just doesn't make sense. So we've built this huge hypocrisy about what kind of things that we should be eating, and it's really, really simple. And we've just kind of made a mess about it. Our closest living relatives, what do they eat? And fruit. Fruit. We are designed to climb up the trees and eat the fruit. I bet out of everyone in here, the only thing that you eat raw, real, natural, whole food is fruit. Everything else, you probably cook it. Everything else, you probably put salt and pepper on it. Probably put some sauces on it. Mix it up with something else. But you always just eat the fruit just the way it is. We're attracted to it, right? It's beautiful. Strawberries look beautiful. Blueberries look beautiful, colorful. They smell good. They taste good. You eat them right off the tree. They're raw. They're real. Of course. That's what we're supposed to be eating. But alligators probably are not attracted to bananas. They don't like bananas because they can't climb up a tree and get them, probably. So anyway, just to tell you how this guy eats really quick, there's going to be a good clue for you guys. When the sun comes up, they're pretty hungry. They go up one tree. Let's just say for the heck of it, it's a banana tree. They'll go up in a banana tree. They'll eat tons of bananas. They'll come down, they have sex, and they go to sleep for about an hour or two. They wake up a little bit later. They'll go up, let's say, an apple tree. Eat a whole bunch of apples, come down, have sex, and go to sleep. Hour or two later, they'll go up. I'll make it up. Let's say a strawberry tree, a blueberry tree. Go up, eat a whole bunch, come down. You know the story from there. Those are called mono meals of fruit. Our bodies are designed to eat one thing at a time and fruit. We're designed to eat a whole bunch of bananas, and that's it for an hour or two. Have a whole bunch of peaches, that's it for an hour or two. This body was not designed for even fruit cocktail. It doesn't. Could you think an animal would go up a banana, go get one banana, then go get one strawberry, then go get one blueberry, go over here? No. That just doesn't happen. Do you think that a lion would go eat some antelope, then go over and have a little bit of water, then come over and have some potatoes? No, it's not going to happen. Fruit. I like to call it perfect human food. Really quick, I just like to throw this in here. The best you can, eat all your fruit in the morning till about 2 or 3 in the afternoon. Then after that, chimps are a little bit lazy and they don't like going up to trees, so they eat a bunch of leaves. So in one way, that kind of breaks down their sugar. We want a lot of sugar during the day to give us energy and go out and do our stuff. But then when we're going to bed, we don't want a lot of sugar or fruit. So it's good to eat a lot of leaves, which we would call lettuce or a salad. And that should kind of finish up your day right there. Anyway, my time is up. I want to say thank you very much. One last question. So chimpanzees eat about 80 to 90% fruit and about 10% leaves. So let me ask my original question. Who in here eats healthy, which is 80% to 90% fruit and about 10% salads? Wow, we went from about 90% down to about 3%. Thank you.
So to reiterate what I said at the beginning, there's going to be a great deal of diversity tonight. Our speakers will have their own opinions, and we appreciate that. And we ask you to consider what works best for you. Our next speaker this evening, Ben Best, is joining this distinguished panel. He's a trustee here at Church of Perpetual Life. He's also a leading figure in the cryonics movement, which is sweeping the planet. Ben Best travels the world attending conferences and meeting with medical researchers. He has personally been studying the effects of various foods on his own blood level of glucose, ketones, and triglycerides. So here now to discuss the ketogenic diet is Ben Best.
Actually, I am biased towards ketogenic, but I'm not just studying ketogenic foods. I'm experimentally eating different foods and seeing what they do to my blood values. So I guess I'm looking at glucose, your blood sugar, and this is really a toxin for the most part. Most of the diabetics have very high levels of glucose, and it damages their blood vessels. And before the advent of agriculture, we weren't really getting a lot of glucose. We were living on fat and ketones. Ketones are produced by fat, and ketones, we would store our energy as fat, and ketones are more efficient. They're better fuel than glucose. So in that sense, I am biased towards ketones. Now, this is the device I use to measure my blood glucose. This is the device I use to measure my triglycerides, and this is how I measure my ketones. And I prick my fingers and take blood samples and use them on these devices. So I try to standardize to somewhat the extent of my experiments. 400 grams of most solid foods, 100,000 grams of berries, a liter for liquids, and I try to sample hourly for most of the solid foods and half hourly for berries and liquids. And how long I go on depends on whether something's changing. So I just want to emphasize, you are not me. This is my 23andMe genetic results, and my risk for diabetes, type 2 diabetes, is on the very top of the list. I got a bad set of genes from that point of view. And anyway, these results don't necessarily apply to you, at least not exactly. So let's start out, carbohydrates. First, I gave myself a glucose tolerance test. So the standard is to administer 75 grams of pure glucose and see what happens to the blood levels during the first 2 hours. So unfortunately, I'm a borderline diabetic, and actually I did the test slightly wrong. I used 70 grams, and so I would have had worse results. So that's what look at that green line. Now you want to stay below 100 to be healthy, I guess, and it just my blood glucose right at 2 hours, it was on the borderline diabetic of 200, and I even had less glucose than I should have had. And but anyway, once my insulin got going, my blood glucose dropped way down down to even 50. So that's pretty. At least my pancreas is working well. So now in all these, keep your eye on the green lines in all these figures. The green lines are the glucose, the blue lines are the ketones, and the yellow-orange lines are the triglycerides. So this is here I'm eating basically white bread, and you can see my glucose is shooting right up, the green line, and is staying up for quite a few hours, 6 hours before it started to decline. So that's not something I like to see. Not only that, the white bread caused my ketones to just plummet and not recover very much. And the whole wheat bread isn't much better. It may have a lot of vitamins and minerals and phytochemicals, but it sure shoots up the glucose. And pumpernickel rye is a little bit more weird, but certainly initially it shoots the glucose up. Oops. And I tried some rolled oats, another high jump in glucose and killing the ketones. And oat bran, soluble fiber, I thought that might be a bit better, but no, the glucose is still going way up and the ketones are getting shot. And I tried the brownest rice I could find at Whole Foods, and I still got the glucose going up. So carbohydrates are bad news, I think, except for these noodles. And these noodles have no starch. No starch is the source of glucose. So these are all totally fiber, pure fiber. And look what I got here. The glucose didn't even budge. I missed a few values here on the triglycerides, but the triglycerides are going down and the ketones are going up. I don't know why they plummeted at the end. But anyway, so I don't want to necessarily eat this stuff alone, so I tried some tomato paste. that shot, at least in 3 hours, the glucose was shot up. But this was quite a lot of tomato paste. You normally eat 400 grams of tomato paste. But I do all these weird experiments with myself. And anyway, the ketones did go up for some reason. So then I'm combining the noodles and the tomato paste, and it's not bad. So I tried a little avocado, and look at that. The triglycerides shot right up. And as I said, the fats get converted into ketones. The glucose hardly moved at all and stayed flat. And then you see when it's peaking, it's converting that fat to ketones. And so the ketones went got to be quite high. I tried some Irish butter. This is organic and all that stuff, and that had a similar effect. Got my ketones up pretty high and didn't do much to my glucose. And organic mayonnaise. Anyway, that boosted the ketones too. And then organic olive oil. Now that's a really good one. You see the glucose is hardly budging. The triglycerides go up a bit, and the ketones go quite up in line. And if you look at the I should have made it clear at the beginning. The graph on the left-hand side is for the ketones, and the graphs on the right-hand side are for the triglycerides. And those are very high values for ketones, if you've been paying attention. Fish oil, a bit erratic. I won't talk about that. I tried some flax seeds. It seemed to me flax seeds might be a better way of getting the oils in. You don't have that rush of fat coming in. You've got to digest your way through the seeds. So at 3 hours, the fat peaked, and then it went down. The glucose didn't move much, and the ketones went right up a bit anyway. And so I tried also another experiment. Sesame seeds would be similar, have a similar effect, but I'm comparing the effect of having initial high glucose with initial low glucose. So in this case, my glucose was initially high. I may have just eaten a meal before I did this experiment. And what we see there is the glucose didn't change much, but and the ketones were lifted and the fats declined, but if my initial glucose was not so high, if I had started out with low glucose, I got a much better effect on the both on the ketones. And just to go back, if you look at the numbers on the right hand side for the ketones, you'll see those numbers are much larger with the initial low glucose. So I'm getting a real boost of my ketones. And whoops, I'm going the wrong way. Let's see here. Okay, now medium chain triglycerides. These are largely found in coconut oil, and but it's better to have a pure medium chain triglycerides that don't have some of the lauric acid and some of the other things that coconut oil has. So I'm just taking these this pure MCT oil, which has these two medium chain triglycerides, and what do I get? It's just fantastic. Look at that. The triglycerides go down. The glucose is low, and I got the ketones shooting up. This was absolutely the worst experiment I did on myself. I had headaches and stomach aches, and it lasted for hours and hours. I was really sick for a long time after doing this experiment. So I try to keep it to 80 grams. I had added 80 grams to some of my foods, and so I was at Hippocrates for 3 weeks, and I found that I watched my glucose when eating different foods, and I wasn't looking at my triglycerides and ketones. Now, in my personal opinion, the best sprout combination is broccoli sprouts and beet sprouts. I think that's the healthiest combination. But actually, there's more oils than sprouts in this mixture. So I'm getting the hook. Sure. All right.
Good. Ladies and gentlemen, the human test subject, Ben Best. We appreciate all the agony you're going through to save us the agony, Ben. And I appreciate your point on coconut oil. You know, if you're using butter to fry whatever you're frying, and why not change it to coconut oil? That would be a great idea. Maybe spread it on your bread. If you like bread, maybe use coconut oil instead of that butter or whatever you're using. I'd like to also remind you that we are recording this event. We are going to be on YouTube, so this will be available right away for you to be able to watch this. When you go home tonight and you want to see it again, it'll be there on our YouTube channel. You'll find that on our website in the upper left-hand corner. Are we also Facebook streaming? Maybe we are, and we are. Thank you. Thank you, ladies. Thank you, Tanya. The social media queen of South Florida is going to be streaming this on Facebook soon. Thank you, and welcome to the Church of Perpetual Life over here as well. And now we're going to be doing a Q&A. Tiffany, come forward. Bradley, come forward. Bradley has clipboards with index cards and pens in case you forgot yours downstairs. People are waving to you right here, Tiffany. People are waving to you over here. They're going to hand you a card and a pen and make sure that you get a chance to submit your questions. All through the event tonight, you'll be able to give your questions, submit them to us, and we'll see if we can't get through as many of them as we can. And of course, if I miss any of them, I will do my very best to get you answered. If you want to send your questions by email, if we missed them, send them in to me by email. I'll try to get them answered. And of course, our distinguished panel will be downstairs to meet with you in person as well. So our next speaker, Geoff Palmer, is a 55-year-old, 33-year vegan who is a natural bodybuilding and natural physique champion, the owner of The Clean Machine, plant-based fitness nutrition, author, lecturer, and patent holder, and Nexty winner, the top supplement award in the U.S. for Best New Supplement in 2016 and 2018. Geoff will be featured in 3 vegan documentary films scheduled for release in 2018 and 2019, and was selected number 40 of the top 100 most influential vegans worldwide of 2017. Geoff has teamed up with VegFest Expos and the Naturally Fit Federation to create the very first 100% vegan bodybuilding competition in the world. Ladies and gentlemen, Geoff Palmer.
Well, thank you. Thank you. Pleasure to be here. And let's go ahead and get this here. Let's see if not yet. No PowerPoint. There we go. All right. I've been a big passionate person about biology. When I first made my change, one of the things I did was I had a very personal change. I was eating the standard American diet, SAD, as they call it, and it was causing depression in me. I had severe depression to the point where I nearly took my life a couple times. I wanted to change that around, and when I had the breakthrough, when I got let into the pain that was inside me and finally got the help to set that free, I wanted to live. And I heard Brian talking about, we are so many of us, and especially in this country, are committing death by diet, committing suicide by diet. So that's when I had that breakthrough in my own personal experience 33 years ago. I said, how can I give this gift back to people? I was I was a raw foodist originally, even went fruitarian for a year, but I was raw foodist for 4 years, and I went to a raw food convention, and they were saying, hey, how can we get more people into raw foods? I said, wait a minute, raw foods extends life. And they said, well, of course. And I said, but people in pain don't want to extend their life. They want to end it. They want to end the pain. And that's what almost took my life. And I'm thankful that I broke through and saw, wait a minute, once I released this pain, I wanted to live. And that's the difference. So what I did was start searching for some of the best nutrition out there. And that led me to really showing people what can be accomplished as a 33-year vegan at 55 years of age. That's me. And I said, this is a dramatic change in what you can do to your body when you give it what it needs. And physical health and fitness is the second half of nutrition. Nutrition and fitness go together hand in hand, like peanut butter and jelly. It just belongs together. And I think that's one part that a lot of people leave out. You know, people say, oh, Geoff, you were probably looked that way all your life. No, that's me before I was vegan, when I was a meat eater. And this is me after 33 years of nothing but plants. So this is what plants can do to your body. And I hopefully, you know, when I show people that at 55, it's not a tumor. You know, this is what you can do. At any age, you can be in the best physical fitness of yourself. It's all about exercise and nutrition. These guys are living proof. Every single one of these top pro athletes are vegan, 100% plant-based. As a matter of fact, Jahina Malik right here, the first IFBB vegan pro, that is the top federation in the world for athletes. She's been vegan since birth. She has never had a single animal product in her body ever. And beating women taking drugs and eating a standard American diet. That's what can happen when you eat nothing but plants. So, you know, the big question everybody who goes on to a vegan or vegetarian diet gets is, where do you get your protein, right? Well, there's actually only one true, technically correct answer, because it all comes from one place. That's right, plants. All essential amino acids on this planet are created by plants, and only plants. They're called essential amino acids for a good reason, because we have to get them from our diet. So this begs me to say, well, wait a minute. If all essential amino acids, every single protein in every cell in this room is made by plants, you are all made by plants. All of us, every single animal on this planet is made by plants. So why are we not just eating the plants? Why are we feeding the plants to animals, killing the animal, and then stealing their plant protein? That's like you turning to your friend next to you and killing them and stealing all their money. Is that right? No, of course not. You go out and make your own damn money. Well, eat your own damn plants too. Stop killing the animals. They deserve to live. Let's talk about efficiency. Sorry I don't have this up there, but this is our food chain, basically in the United States. 41 million tons of food is fed to 7 billion animals, and it yields 7 million tons of food. Is that an efficient ratio? If you were in a business and you told me running your business, you're making $41 million and net 7, would that be a good thing for you? If you were making a job and you said, wait a minute, I make $41,000 and the government eats it up so much in taxes that you get left with $7,000, is that a good deal? Why are we settling for this horrific ratio of conversion of protein? Why are we feeding all this plant protein to animals? How many animals? This is a graph of human beings and animals eaten in the United States in a single year. 320 million Americans, that's us right there. That 10 billion animals die every year just to feed that 320. This is the biggest Holocaust this planet has ever seen. There's absolutely no reason for this. If you look at this, you can see, where does all the fiber in the world come from? Plants. Where the essential fatty acids are made. They're called essential because we get them from food. We get them from plants. That's right. Fish oil, right? Everybody thinks that's great. Well, where do the fish get the oil from? Plants, algae, like Brian was talking about. All these nutrients, where are all the vitamins and minerals coming from? We can't even get minerals out of the ground. If we eat them, they don't do anything in our body. Try eating a piece of chalk. It's not going to do anything for you. It's not going to do anything for your bones. We need the plants to convert them to bioavailable sources of vitamins and minerals. Where is all the oxygen that you're breathing right now coming from? Plants. All the vitamins and minerals, all the macronutrients, including fiber and protein, all plants. All the oxygen, plants. My God, this is who we should be appreciating. This is who gives all life to every single animal, including humans on this planet. It's an empowering story. Look, we have big business, big agriculture. 10 companies in the world control about 80 to 85% of all the foods you eat. That's horrific. They've been telling you, dictating to you, lying to you to eat their food. And then they get in bed with the doctors, because if you keep eating their food, you're going to need to see the doctor. Well, then the doctor takes money from you, and what do they tell you? Well, after they've taken your money, then they send you to the pharmaceutical so you can go on their drugs. And of course, the drugs keep making you sick. So then the hospitals make money off of you. And then the hospitals, well, you can't pay the hospital bills, so the insurance companies make money off of you. And then you end up in a nursing home because you're decrepit and can't take care of yourself, and then they steal all that's left. Well, there's a few pennies left. Nope, the funeral home gets that one. That is what we are doing. That's disempowerment. That's what they want you to do, to follow this path of sick care. Eat their crap, get sick, and then take all of your money. That's disempowerment. What we're saying is you can choose the plants, you can be empowered, you can take control over your health. It's your body. Take it back. This is your chance to give yourself the empowerment, the health, and life that you deserve. It's yours for the taking, but you have to make that choice. You have to listen to great people like this that are telling you about the good foods that eat, the plants that are giving you all the phytonutrients, the antioxidants, the polyphenols, the anti-aging benefits. These are the nutrients that are in plants that help us survive. It's what we've evolved on. It's a powerful and empowering story. And it's one that you can have as part of your life, help you create your life. This can also improve your mood. It's a very interesting thing, and I'm going to leave you guys with this one. It's interesting, when I was in biology, I was a student of psychology, so I was looking at the whole physiology. I was studying tryptophan, a very hot topic, because tryptophan converts to serotonin. That's our new natural mood elevator. It's what makes us happy, with a little dopamine and things like that. But, so serotonin, about 70% of serotonin, 70 to 80% of serotonin is actually made in the gut. And what feeds that serotonin? Fiber. These fibers feed the bacteria that actually convert tryptophan and the proteins that we eat into serotonin, which makes us happy. So plants make you happy. Remember, how much fiber is in animal products? 0. Can't make you happy. As a matter of fact, it not only doesn't make you happy, when you eat an animal product, it raises your bile because it's harder to break down. So our body secretes this bile. Well, if you put bile into the gut, it not only wipes out a lot of those bacteria, it opens up an amazing place for bile-thriving bacteria, bad bacteria, to live. So you've just changed the whole equation. When I saw that, and I actually saw some of the chemical things that were going on to the brain, and after tryptophan has turned to serotonin, I said, oh my God, what are these chemicals that are blocking our happiness? And they were found in meat and animal products. And I'm like, Well, wait a minute. In my studies, that's karma. You hurt something else, and you take that pain in your body, and it makes you less happy. Don't do death by diet or suicide by diet. Thank you for listening.
Thank you very much, Geoff. So Tiffany and Bradley, you're picking up the cards now. If you have already written your questions, please deliver them now to Bradley and Tiffany. If you'd like a card and a pen, and you have a new question you'd like to submit, they'll do that as well. This is a good time for that. Becca Tebon is the CEO and founder of FIT, F-I-T, Fearless Integrative Transformation. She holds numerous fitness certifications and founded Multimedia Network Group, an advertising and marketing firm, Wellness Lifestyle Group, and Becca Tebon, LLC. She's a graduate of the University of Florida, as am I. Go Gators! She is certified as a group fitness trainer, instructor, and holds numerous certificates as a health coach and physical training. If I listed them all right now here in this introduction, she would have no time to actually speak. Becca has been featured in Boca Raton magazine, taught at Oprah Winfrey's retreat, is a contributing writer for Mind, Body, Green, in Yoga Today, and many online and traditional magazines, blogs, and podcasts. She is a mom, a fitness author, and travels the world giving keynote speeches and calls herself a flexitarian. Let's welcome Becca to Hollywood. Becca Tebon.
Can you guys hear me okay? I got my speaker. So thank you. You know what, I have to say, first of all, last but not least, okay, the panel that has been before here, I have to honestly tell you, as a flexitarian, and not just a flexitarian, I agree and concur with every one of them. So it's kind of nice to kind of wrap it up and bring it all to you. So I want to ask before I go on, oh wait, where's the clicker? Before I start talking about what I'm going to talk about, how many of you, wherever you are, want to be a little bit better? Who wants to be better? So we're going to talk about the epigenetics and our actual life versus our ideal life. And there's so many areas of that. How we feel, how we act, our physical strength, what we eat, what we do, and what we say. So I am the healthy habit hacker. Everybody have a bad habit they want to hack? Yes? So you might see on your sheet, you'll have a little sticky note. When I'm done, I want you to find one thing, just one thing that you're not doing well enough that you want to change. Actually, write the one thing that you want to start doing when you're all done. So when you leave here, you're going to take one step forward, increasing your lifespan. All right, so I want to talk about why diets fail and how to succeed. Because there's something going on inside of all of us that is causing us not to do what we want to do. So if our actual life is here and we want to be here, why aren't we here? They're called gaps, and there's reasons why people fail. As a matter of fact, there's 13 reasons that I've identified by coaching thousands of people why they fail. Of course, we don't have time to go into all that right here, but I can tell you one thing I have found. Insanity. Anybody know the definition of insanity? Who's doing the same thing? Who's insane in here? Yeah, we're all insane. Listen, I've got some bad habits too, I'll admit it, you know, but are they every day? Do I eat cake and cookies? Don't judge me, I do. But I don't eat them every day. And when I do, I probably choose a healthier way to create them. But we all have adversities, and we all have things that we want to change. There's a few of my adversities. So I'm going to give you a short story about who I am and why I got here. How this advertising agency person got to this stage talking about health. Well, I was born into health, but I was born on the other side of wellness. I was born with propensity. I had pulmonary, digestive, and skeletal problems. To this day, I now have degenerative disc disease. What does that mean? Well, for me, It means at 7 years old, I started working out because they knew by this age, if I didn't work out, my muscular structure would be the thing that would help me to stand. I should have poor calcium in my body, but I have these, you can't see it in this, I usually don't wear sleeves. I have huge stalagmites on my shoulders because my body absorbs calcium. So these are my warrior marks. What are your warrior marks? What is it that is standing behind you and making you even stronger that you're not even acknowledging? So we all have adversities. When my dad died in 2009, I also got hit by a car and I got an email saying from my husband that he wanted to divorce me. In 90 days, well, I can tell you, like Geoff and maybe 25% of this increase. For the first time in my life, my cup that floweth over said, done. And I thought I was going to just take my life. Well, God said, that's not what's going to happen. I have you to use you for my own purpose. And he told me that I needed to be up here. This person with dyslexia, speech problems, and because of all the medication I've been on all my life, have terrible memory issues. Calling your white elephants to the table is a helpful thing. You gotta laugh with the elephants. So then I started looking at my adversities and I said, okay, how am I gonna turn those into advantages? Because that cup that floweth over. So within 3 weeks, I completely changed who I was and what I was doing in 3 weeks. Now I do that in 12 weeks for people, or for people who don't work with me, they can utilize my book and do it in 12 months. But I started to really work on who I was and close the gap on where I was going. As all those issues that I told you about, my dad was an amazing pharmacist. So you can only imagine I had only the best medication to help me feel better after I felt really bad. So they would give me my meat. Yeah, you guys can start clapping. So they'd give me my meat, and then I'd get sick. And what did they do? They gave me medicine to make me feel better, right? When I couldn't sleep, they would give me something to help me sleep. My pains were terrible all through until I was 42 years old. I had chronic pain. There's no pain today. I still compete. I bodybuild. I do adventure races. And yes, I'm 85 years old. No. But I am 54 years old. And I'm a strong 54-year-old in my mind, in my body, in my core, and who I stand out to be. So I want to ask you guys, what is your why that you want to close your gaps? For me, I have 3 exes. I love bringing them on stage, right? So I have 3 amazing girls. I'm a single mom, and they are amazing women. And you too can become stronger in who you are and where you want to be. I have developed a program that breaks down 50 different personality archetypes on who you are and what your lifestyle looks like. And it's completely free, and you'll be able to go to my website and get that afterwards. So I want to go into now why do diets fail and how to succeed. You guys want to figure this out with me? So the number one is people use their willpower. Well, I can tell you this, willpower and inspiration will get you to the starting line, but it washes out with a bar of soap. No, instead you have to use science. And many of the things that you learned here today are exactly what I teach you. And it's putting more fat and more fiber in your diet. It's how you start your day, it's how you're gonna work through your day. The first thing that you do to the last thing you do. If you start out wrong, and even so, don't laugh, and this has nothing to do with food, but making your bed, your first accomplishment. Like, what are you doing? But before you get out of your bed, are you manifesting and creating your day? Are you inspiring your day? What are you doing? So that little sticky note for me, if I stop doing my manifestations, my gratifications, and my inspirations in the morning, then that goes on my sticky note. And the first thing that I usually do is look at my cell phone in the morning. Anybody else? So I put my sticky note for what I want to start my day like right there. So I call it my morning meeting with Gia. Gratification, intention, and affirmation. If that's what you need to start with, then maybe that's what's going on your sticky note, because how you start your day is how your day progresses. The next thing is everybody wants to focus on calories. Yes, 3,500 calories equals 1 pound. So if you stop eating 3,500 calories, you should lose a pound, right? That makes sense. But it's not that simple, and it's actually not complicated. It's the calories and how you eat your calories and when you eat your calories. For instance, who makes their biggest meal dinner? Who skips breakfast? Okay, so lunch is your biggest meal, then comes breakfast, then comes dinner. Dinner should be your smallest meal, and you shouldn't even be that hungry because you had a nice snack or two in between all those. So if you're eating regularly and eating small meals, then you're not hungry. You should never be hangry or hungry. I'm never hungry, except for right now. So many people that come to me are eating too low of fat and too low of fiber. Both of those things were touched upon up here. It is completely irrelevantly wrong mindset to think that eating fat is going to make you fat. I eat at least 1 avocado a day, 2 or 3 handfuls of nuts a day. I am, as I said, a flexitarian. I'm a plant-based flexitarian. So that means, what does that mean? So it doesn't mean I just sit and flex all day. As a flexitarian, a term that I coined years ago, it means I'm flexible. I listen to my body, and what it asks me for, I give it. I believe that you are all bio-individual. Yes, I have blanketed plans that you can get easily off my website. But if you really want to find out what's going to make you feel better and work best for you, then you have to understand that you are bio-individual. And by eliminating people, places, things, and thoughts, then you will find what serves you best. And another reason that people fail is they don't have a plan. And you've often heard, fail to plan, then you better plan to fail. Preparation. Who does meal prep here? Anybody do meal prep? Yeah. So what I have found is people don't know how to, or it seems too complicated. So what my job is to do as the hacker is to show you how to simplify life, because it's not complicated. All those websites out there, they're awesome, but it's really, really simple. In an hour and a half a week, twice a week, I prepare all my meals. They're chopped, they're put into bags, they're going to freezers. I make large vats of things at a time. So you need to multitask and create this simply. There's tons of blogs on my website. I am a content-rich giver. If you're looking for some simple information, I implore you to go to my website. And one of the other reasons that people fail, and this was one of my reasons, especially you smart people out there, you're one of those all-in, like, I'm doing this, right? And then what happens? You go to a birthday party, they slice you off a cup of cake, a slice of cake, and then you're like, I messed up. And then you go home, you feel like a heel. And then you say, well, I might as well eat half a bag of chips because I already messed up. I know, I'm with you, I've done this. And then there's only half a bag left, so you might as well finish the rest of the bag, right? Yes. Who's done this before? Don't say. Come on now. Yes. So if you mess up, then you might as well just keep messing up. But see, that's where it stops. Because when you work with a life coach, health coach, then you know how to put those tools and tactics in to reverse out these problems. There's at least then 8 other reasons why people fail. And it's simple to know that if there's a reason why you're not succeeding, if you have this gap, it's easy to change it once you understand what's missing from it. Does that make sense? So I want you to write down on your sticky note right now what your biggest area that you need to change is. What is it that you need to change? And I want you then to write down the anecdote of what you're going to be doing to change it. Because if you don't change what you're doing, then are you insane? Yes. That's all I have for today. Oh, I'm sorry. There's one more. And then, of course, there's hidden reasons in medical. I am not a doctor, but I work with doctors, and I help you to reverse out diabetes, cholesterol, high blood pressure, and other diseases that you're on. I help you with doctors to come across and lessen the meds that you're on, reverse needing the meds, and food is thy medicine. So I want to invite you guys, when you're all done here, to go on out to the table. I have a wheel of health. There's tons of free things that you can win on there. And anybody who comes in, and there's a little form that you have there, if you fill that out and give that to me, you'll automatically be drawn in for the wheel of health.
And the wheel of health is vastly more important than the wheel of fortune, I assure you.
Absolutely. If you want to find out how to connect with me, I'm all over social media at Becca Tebon Fit. And my website, which you can connect and get a free consultation with me, is beccatebon.com. And that gap that I told you about, if you want to get a transformational 50 archetypes and see what you look like, it's completely free. It's also on beccatebon.com. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Becca.
What? Yeah.
So we've been sitting for about an hour, and we don't like sedentary feelings. Now, Becca is the perfect person to lead us in a few minutes of stretching and exercise where you are. So let's all stand and take a 5-minute break of exercise and get the blood flowing.
All right, so you guys, I happen to have a broken toe, so my brothers on my toes are stuck together. But I want to ask, how many people work at offices? Okay, so a lot of times when I'm at conferences, I'm asked to do my 17-minute workout. How many people here work out, first of all? Working out doesn't include drinking coffee. And that's a whole nother story. Okay, so what I provide is a workout that's 17 minutes. It's 4 exercises done 4 times. They're usually done in 40 seconds. You work as hard as you can, so you're getting out of breath. It's a high intensity or workout where you're not necessarily putting joint muscles, weight on your muscles.
And Becca, you know, I want to just interject. We haven't had a chance to collect questions for Becca, so be sure to get your questions in. Tiffany, come forward, and Bradley, come forward. Be sure to circulate while we're taking this short little break. Becca,
Okay.
back to you.
Do I have music?
I think we're about to have music.
You don't
maybe.
want me singing.
Okay.
I don't get paid to sing. Dun-dun-dun-dun. We are having music?
I hear Brian sings. Maybe not.
So as I was saying, I use a little tool called a Gym Boss. It makes my job really easy. So I set it for the amount of sets I want to do, and I set it for the amount of time. So normally my clients are a 40-second, 20-second break, and in that 20 seconds they're getting their breath, they're getting their water, and they're getting set to do the next exercise. We are going to just do 5 minutes. And in between, you get your breath. Of course, you're not going to be going as high. But what's really great about this particular exercise program is no matter what level you're at, you work, because we're not counting. You don't have to do 25 reps of something. You may only do 5, somebody else might do 50. So you're doing the best you can in the time and space that you can. Does that make sense? Everybody can do that? All right. So do I have music? I can put on some music.
I'll play the drums if you don't have it.
Oh, will you?
Doug, how are we looking back there?
All right, we're going to end this.
Okay, music is better. And anyone that wants to join us on the stage, come on up.
You can get
have
a
little
guitar
fun.
going.
Where you are, come on up. Yes, come on up. John, come on up. Larry, come on
I
up.
can't.
All right.
All right, so I have some friends here. So what we're going to start doing is just raising our hands, raising our vibration, and just shake them. All right, just shake your hands. Hallelujah! Praise the Lord. All right, just cross over. You want to cross your axiom all over. Cross over. And here we go. Do it as fast as you can. Go! Hold those abs and shoulders are back. Use that breath. Inhale and exhale. You guys are looking good. Awesome. Keep going. Well, there you go. More plans for you. Keep going. Let's do it. Where are those hands? You guys, get those hands moving. 40 seconds is over. Woo. All right, next one is going to be a squat. I want you to just sit into your pew and then stand back up. So you're going to sit down and come back up. You can start by sitting down. Go ahead. Put your feet out front. The feet don't go underneath the pew. Now stand up and down and up and down and up. If you're doing it without the pew, you're making sure that your knees are behind your toes. Good. And squeeze the bum-bums on the way up. Yes. Like I just gave you $1 million bill. Squeeze those bum-bums. Whoa, come on, let's do a little faster. There are so many different variations to our squats. All right, that's your 40 seconds. Next exercise, you're going to turn around, touch the pew, lean back into a plank, and just come down into a push-up. I like the team up here. This is teamwork. Go, go, go. The pews will fall. Look at you, you're so strong. Awesome, total wonderful. Now obviously in a church, I'm not gonna have you step on the pews, but your chairs are awesome. If you travel, your beds, step on the beds at the hotels. Just don't tell them I told you to do it. Keep going, your 40 seconds is not up yet. All right, sit down, sit down. Good job. We have one more exercise. One more exercise. For those of you who want to stand up, stand up. For those of you who are tired now, go ahead and sit down. So if you're sitting down, you're going to just go like this. And if you're standing up, you're going to go like this. All right, let's do it. Go, go, go. Come on, let me hear the noise. You got to make the noise with it. Woo! More noise. Come on. Go, go. Lower, lower, lower. If you're seated, that's okay. So I had this guy who was 500 pounds. You think I got him to work out? No. He lost 100 pounds in 5 months. How did he do it? Very barely working out. It was food, 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 food. No liposuction. Thanks, Brian. No. In 10 months, the guy lost 176 pounds. Why? Because we changed the brain. Good job, you're done. Change the brain, change your habits, and you too can get to where you want to go. Thank you, guys. Thank you.
Holy cow, what a panel. Ladies and gentlemen, what a panel we have tonight. Wonderful. We will be the healthiest people in South Florida. We will be that. Questions and answers. We're not taking questions and answers live, but by cards. Bradley and Tiffany, where are you now? Okay, so they're going to be circulating if you have any particular questions you want to write down for Becca. But our first question comes to Brian Clement. What's the best supplements to take? What are the best supplements to take? Applauding his question.
About 15 years ago, I wrote the book, the definitive book on exposing supplements. It's called Supplements Exposed. Now, the original supplement was found, or nutrient was found in 1905 in London, England by a guy called William Fletcher. And he had a really wild theory. There was something killing everyone then called beriberi. Beriberi was sort of like the cancer of the day. And that was called B vitamin. In 1912, a guy called Kashmir Funk. Now, isn't that a great name? Brian Clement, that's bland. How would you like to walk into a room and say, hello, I'm Kashmir Funk? So this Polish-born guy who worked at the Lister Institute in London, England, and he said, let's name this new thing we found something exciting. So vita means what? Life, and amine from nitrogen. So the word vitamin means life growth. And then the nasties got involved. But before the nasties got it, here in the United States, we created a science called nutritional science at Cornell University, 1928, 1929. 1933, Merck of Germany got involved. And Merck of Germany said, you know, it costs a lot of money to collect berries and make vitamin C, so let's synthesize them. And that's called ascorbic acid. And 98% of all the vitamin C on the market is deadly chemical. It's only 1/8 of vitamin C. It's what 99% of alternative doctors pump into your veins and tell you it's natural. And to top it all off, the pharmaceutical companies went to governments around the world back in the 30s and 40s and made it so that the law says natural only needs to have 10% plant-based nutrients in it. So the original supplements were prostituted, discovered 1905, prostituted 1933. 91% of supplements on the market today are chemicals created in laboratories that are synthetics that the body does not identify. The immune system attacks, unfortunately, and it weakens you. So what are the supplements you should use? All of the supplements that I've created and helped people create worldwide are living, whole food, plant-based, organic supplements. We also threw kosher in for the hell of it.
All right, Brian, thank you very much. Thank you for that great answer. I think our flashlight might have gotten broken back there. He's a hard guy to give the hook to because he's got such interesting things to say. But Scott, a question for you. Or maybe I should direct this to everyone but you. But it's, the question is, can you eat too much whole fruit, and does eating a lot of fruit lead to high glucose levels, Scott?
You know, we're just made for fruit. I mean, squirrels are made for nuts, and your sharks are made for fish. We're just made for fruit. I pound down fruit, and there's tons of fruitarians and frutivores. We're just made for fruit. It's just the way it is. We're not made for a high-fat diet or a high-protein diet or anything like that. It's just the way that we are. It's just the way that we're designed and developed. So eat all the fruit that you want. You know, eventually you're going to get sick and tired of eating fruit, so you'll stop eating fruit. But your body will tell you when to stop eating it. But no, there's no doubt about it. We're just made for it. It's the perfect food for us. And enjoy, enjoy, enjoy.
Thank you, Scott. Thank you very much. Question for Geoff. Is there any truth that some blood types, like O+, O positive, allegedly require or naturally desire naturally desire meat products?
So I've been vegan for 33 years, and I am type O. No, the assumption on the type O diet or the blood type diet was totally fallacious. They assumed that we, as an early species in our evolution, first were scavengers. We were not. We now know by looking at caprophytes, and excuse me for explaining what a caprophyte is, but it's a fossilized poop. We now know that the earliest forms of human beings had about 70% of their poop was fiber. That only comes from plants, so you can guess what they were eating. As a matter of fact, the amount of fiber that was in their poop is about 10 times the fiber that we're eating now. Well, with the exception of maybe Brian. So that type O diet is totally... Listen, if you're a 4-foot-tall human being and you've got creatures that are 5 times your size and carnivorous, you're running from them, not to them. If anything, we were scavengers. We were the hunted and eaten, not the eaters of animals.
If you want to answer any of these questions, put your hand up.
Oh, okay.
Thank you, Geoff. Next question is for Ben Best. Now, this is an interesting thing. It's described as the bold guy in the center. The bold guy in the center, Ben. Ben, the question is, how has your health improved after 3 weeks at Hippocrates?
I can't answer that question.
I have another question for Ben Best. What was the protein effect on your, what was protein effect on Ben Best's lab values?
I don't understand that question.
Yeah, I don't either. Okay, we'll skip that one. So, Ben, I'm going to come back to you. I have more for you. Don't.
Yeah.
Thank you. Okay.
What were the foods with high proteins? What
Yes.
did it do to your blood?
Thank you. Thank you, Brian.
That's the next part of my presentation. I didn't get to
Okay, very good. So let me explain. That's a very good point. Let me explain that at the end, each will have 4 to 5 minutes to wrap up. And Ben's going to answer that question in his wrap-up. Thank you, Ben. And that's what we'll do with that. This next question has been asked more than once, multiple times, and I'm not sure who would like to take this question. The question is, what type of diet do you recommend to reverse hypothyroidism?
Oh.
Becca.
Well, as far as hypothyroidism goes, for the most part, I have seen so many people across America and my clients coming with this thyroid problem. And what truly seems to be spurring it so often is the gut health and their adrenals. And so when we start to look at and clean out the gut, take out the bad biome, replace it and reflourish it, and then tap in and strengthen the adrenals, suddenly the thyroid is not a problem anymore. Now, I'm not saying that's always the case, but it's been like 7 out of 10 times the case. And so if you start with your gut, cleaning out your gut, doing a clean out detox. Yes, our bodies are made to detox themselves, but yes, we are also a perfect storm between all the things that we ingest, the food and products, the household cleaning products, your personal care products, as well as your food sources and your stinking thinking. You put all those things together and you've got a storm brewing inside your body. So those things tap on and they screw up your thyroid.
Thank you, Becca.
Can I add just something real quick?
Yes, sure, Geoff.
Great study just released recently. I just posted it today, as a matter of fact, on ashwagandha, which is an adaptogenic herb. Amazing results for thyroid. Oddly enough, it both improved hyperthyroid and hypothyroid. So it readjusted the body to optimal states. Adaptogens are wonderful like that. Most of the herbs and the drugs are unidirectional. They either excite something or depress something. Adaptogens actually regulate. So beautiful. Ashwagandha is the king of the adaptogens. A great study on thyroid.
I'm glad
you,
he
Geoff.
gave a specific, because that is one of the specific that I use to boost up the adrenals. So.
Beautiful. Dr. Clement mentioned blue algae. Ryan, can algae be contaminated by mercury?
Anything on the planet Earth can be contaminated. Certainly we all are at this point. You have to remember that heavy metals are part of every pesticide, fungicide, and herbicide. You have to remember that the notorious dentistry movement back in the mid-1800s started to put a very well-known toxin in your mouth called mercury. You have to know that there are so many ways that you can track this today. It's in toothpaste. It's an underarm deodorant. And so, sure, they could have it in it, but it would have far less than animals would have in them. So where do we find the most? In animal flesh. So in my book, Killer Fish, I write about, from the top oceanographic scientists, the data and statistics their whole life they've been finding. So one of the highest forms of heavy metals you find in fish, and somebody said there's no fat fish. There are. They're the couch potatoes that were written about biblically. I mean, my favorite fish when I used to eat fish, flounders. They even had mutated eyes. I was eating them. You ever see a flounder? 2 eyes on one side. You know, lobsters. They have. So the bottom dwellers, they have the most mercury in it. But all fish have it in it. All fish have pharmaceutical drugs in it now. All. If you go to the North Pole, the North Sea, the most pristine, quote, waters in the world, they all have pharmaceutical. They all have plastic in it. The largest land dump in the world is larger than the state of California in the middle of the Pacific Ocean. For 20 to 25 years, ships from Asia have been navigating around it to come to the west coast of North America. So the thing is, infrared saunas and copious consumption of chlorella is much better than chelation therapy for that. That's why at Hippocrates we have 15 infrared saunas and encourage all of our guests to be in there on a daily basis. And chlorella is the least expensive algae. It's a green algae, not a blue-green algae. And so for that purpose, it would be great. It's about 52%. It fixes the DNA and RNA. So those that are interested in longevity, that's another major reason I take algae and enzymes.
Very good. Thank you, Brian. Now, for the panel, what is good for macular degeneration? Geoff?
Absolutely. Lutein is probably one of the most. It's a carotenoid, beta-carotene carotenoid. New studies have shown that because the eye is so directly correlated to the brain, it's actually good for the brain too. Two new studies out on brain health as well show it added 10 years to the life of an average brain. Our brain, we now know, actually soaks up lutein and stores it in the brain, much like curcumin does. And we use it as a phytoprotective for nerves, and obviously the nerves in the eyes are dependent on that, so lutein's an awesome source.
Thank you, Geoff. Here's a question, and again, I'm going to open this to the panel. I have MS and Lyme. Tried many different diets to heal. Everything helps and hurts. I would like to be a fruitarian, but it just feeds Lyme. Any ideas, thoughts, suggestions for this person?
Was that if they were a fruitarian, it feeds Lyme disease?
The question is,
Aspire to be.
they aspire to be a fruitarian.
If you have MS, if you have anything, you have macular degeneration, you have anything, I'm telling you, there's no better food for the human body than fruit. You think vegetables are better? No. You think meat is better? Grains, beans, legumes, or lentils? You think cooked food is? No. There's whatever disease, whatever you have, of course, I'm just going to keep saying it, it's just better for fruit than
So
you.
Scott, okay, and this next question is absolutely not for Scott. And the question is, with all the sugars in fruit, will it not feed cancer?
So back 40 years ago, we were giving copious amounts of fruit to our guests. Of course, we do clinical research, our medical team, blood tests, highly sophisticated scans from Europe, Russia, and Germany. And we recognized when we saw visible tumors, when people would eat large amounts of fruit, they would grow. Now, this was completely contrary to our belief system at Hippocrates from 1956 till 40 years ago. Then what happened, I started to speak about this to my colleagues and friends, and everyone thought we were complete lunatics. Because if you look at the most important anthropologist that ever lived, he's alive today, he's a young guy, he's in his 50s. He's at, of all places, University of Arkansas. He actually proved your hypothesis, that we didn't eat even grains and nuts and seeds other than there were long-term droughts. When there would be a drought for 5 years, 10 years, the seeds would be left, the plants wouldn't. That's the only time we ate it. And why he's the most important anthropologist that ever lived is he actually started to look at teeth, at our ancestors before we were Homo sapiens until now, and looked at tens of thousands of teeth with his team and discovered that we did eat fruit and vegetables. Now here's the caveat to that. The Chinese got involved thousands of years ago and started to hybrid fruit. So the average fruit today, average fruit, has 30 times more sugar than its ancestral variety. So that you can understand what this means. A crabapple, which I never liked because it was much too sour, is actually much sweeter than the original apple. When I was in Jamaica, and I won't tell you why, but it was many years ago in the 60s, it wasn't to eat papaya, but I ate everything I could get my hands on. They gave me a papaya and said, there's a grandpa papaya, and I spit it out because it wasn't sweet. So here's the difficulty. The most important man alive today in the field of science on cancer wrote the definitive book on cancer called Cancer is a Metabolic Disease. You should have him here sometime. He's a genius. Yale, formerly Boston College now, Thomas Seyfried, and he's not shy. He's not shy. And what he did is he started to see the same thing we did approximately the same time. And we occasionally at Hippocrates, for the public for free, have major conferences with the top scientists that are being criticized and actually looked down upon by their colleagues that we know are the future of medicine. And he basically sat me down and showed me why fructose feeds cancer, to get back to the original question, more than glucose, dextrose, and all others. Because fruit sugar is the only sugar that acts like fat in your metabolism. All other sugars make you fat, but they don't digest like fat and metabolize like fat. Now, it goes back to Warburg, 1924, who won the Nobel Prize for this in 1931, when he showed us all you have to do is reduce oxygen by 1/3 in the human body, and even I would start to proliferate cancer. And the less oxygen you have, the worse cancer is, and the worse viruses, and the worse bacteria, worse mold, the worse fungus. So we don't only have a theory. So when I wiped it out as a director of Hippocrates, now we saw the shocking differences between high sugar diets and low sugar diets. When you have cancers, viruses, mold, yeast, fungus, bacteria, there is no fruit in the diet. Let's go back again. The original diet of man, no question, no exception, was fruit. The anthropologists tell us today it makes perfect sense. It falls from the tree, you chew it, you spit out the pit, and you come back 5 years from then and there's a tree. But our bodies no longer are the same. Our pancreases no longer function. You have to remember that we've been eating processed sugar. And the less money you have, the more sugar you eat. We're 100 years ago. The only people who ever ate processed sugar was less than 5% of the population, the aristocracy. And today, the poorer you are, the more you eat sugar. The average North American and Western European consumes 120 pounds when we're educated and have money. If you don't, it's 160 pounds. The average North American, Western European child consumes double their weight in sugar. 100-pound child will actually eat 200 pounds of sugar a year.
Thank you, Brian. Now, Geoff would like to... First, Geoff. First, Geoff.
First, I want to explain something that sugar is a problem when we're not properly... Okay, sugar becomes a problem when the cells can't uptake it. It's about cellular metabolism. But we found that the real issue that is the cause of diabetes is not sugar at all. It is fat. Fat gets inside the cell, and fat is very difficult for our body to metabolize. Sugars are much simpler to convert into energy, ATP, our currency that runs every cell in our body. Fat coagulates and clogs up the cell. And what that does is the body says, wait a minute, I've got too much energy. Fat is 2.5 times the energy of carbohydrates or proteins. So I've got too much energy inside the cell. Now I'll shut off the receptors on the outside of the cell. That's insulin resistance. That's type 2 diabetes right there. So now sugar can't get inside the cell because it's already got too much energy inside of it already that it's not finished processing. Then sugar becomes a problem. It becomes AGEs, it glycates. It can cause many different host of problems, but sugar is not the cause to diabetes. Fat is the cause. And that is where the metabolic process begins, with that problem. Once you eliminate the fat from the cell, sugars can metabolize extremely fast. They found that people eating only exclusively meat and fat-based diet had higher blood glucose levels than those eating nothing but fruit. So there you go.
Just a quick rebuttal on the cancer. So we mentioned Dr. Otto Warburg. In 1931, he said cancer has to have two things to survive. So let's just think about this. Cancer cannot survive on a stop sign. Cancer cannot survive on that speaker. Cancer cannot survive on this cloth. It needs an environment to grow. It must have a low oxygen, well, let's say an acidic body. We know about pH level. So we either have an alkaline body or we have a highly acidic body. Cancer cannot survive in a highly alkaline body. No disease or illness can. So as long as you stay on a plant-based diet, cancer cannot survive. So if we get back to fruit, fruit is obviously a plant-based diet. It does not make us acidic. It makes us very, very alkaline. Cancer cannot survive in that kind of environment. So you may get cancer, but it cannot survive and it cannot develop, continue developing in a high alkaline body or a plant-based body.
Thank you, Scott. And by the way, it was Scott that came up with this brilliant idea to have this wonderful panel. So we thank you, Scott, Brian, Ben, Geoff, and Becca, the panel on nutrition. Thank you very much. We now have a few words, and Doug, we're ready for our next PowerPoint. Let's bring up the founder of the Church of Perpetual Life, Mr. Bill Falloon.
Well, group, I just want to say that I've been reviewing the peer-reviewed published literature now professionally dating back to 1977 when I started groups like this that empowered people to take their health and their future into their own hands. And if you look at the peer-reviewed scientific literature, it's very consistent. If you follow the type of healthy eating patterns that have been espoused by this panel, you're going to reduce your risk of cancer and vascular disease and dementia. You're going to reduce it dramatically. And in many cases, you can sometimes reverse dementia. We had a group up here during the initial stages of our church where they were reversing Alzheimer's disease by placing people on the types of diets espoused by the speakers on this panel. But what's really interesting is if you look at the slide up there, starting in year 2000, the data shows 43% more Americans are living to age 100. 43% more. And what are the reasons for that? Well, it's not everybody. There's a lot of Americans dying sooner because they're obese, they're diabetic, they have all kinds of complications related to their poor diets. But think about what people have been doing since year 2000. That's 18 years ago. Well, some of them have been eating healthier. They've been taking a lot of plant-based dietary supplements, curcumin, lutein, ashwagandha, a lot of what was mentioned up here, they're now very popular supplements. People have been using more natural hormone replacement. And the technology, medical technology has gotten better. So we have some of the prophecies that this church has espoused is occurring right before our eyes. We have people living to age 100, 43% more, and people who do reach age 100, they're living longer than what they did before. This piece of data came out a year ago showing a tremendous decline in death rates in people suffering from heart failure. Now, a lot of that has to do with improved medical technology, no question about that. But people are also recognizing the role of diet and what they can do to improve their cardiovascular function, of course, including using nutrients like coenzyme Q10. But they've been able to reduce the sudden death rate in heart failure patients, an astounding 44% in only 19 years. What's going to happen 20 years from now with technology as we start expanding the human lifespan? And to put this in perspective, you go back to the time when they can record history, and for 35,000 years, everyone was trying to live a little bit longer and not die so soon, but they were only able to double average lifespans from 18 to 43. It took 35,000 years for that to happen. But then look at the other side. In just 150 years, we've been able to go up from that 43 to close to 80. But as Brian adroitly pointed out, on average, Americans are dying sooner. And that's because 70% of Americans are overweight and or obese. We've got this obesity epidemic, and it's causing average lifespans to decline. But people who take care of themselves, well, they're doing a heck of a lot better. But the reason I like this slide is our church prophesizes that people are going to start living a lot longer and a lot healthier than what they are today. So can you imagine 20 years from now how long and healthy people might be able to live? It's astounding. We're really unable to predict it. And to give you an idea of what technology has already accomplished, it's hard to imagine anything more tragic than losing an infant. An infant, of course, from the time of birth to 1 year of age is an infant. And the infant mortality rate used to be very high. People would have sometimes 7 to 10 children, and most of them would die before the age of 10. Many of them at childbirth, many of them in that first year. But you see this 90% reduction in the infantile death rate in over a 82-year period of time. Well, that's a very brief period. Can you imagine in 30 to 40 years how much longer people are going to live because we are going to control the aging process? And you look at maternal death rates. Wow, a 99% reduction in mothers dying during the process of giving birth. I predict this type of chart will be shown within the next 30 years, showing death rates from the aging process will also be declining by massive, massive percentage points, huge percentage points. But if you're going to get there in the next 20 or 30 years, if you're going to live, you got to take care of yourself today. You got to look at every aspect of your health, what's injuring it, what can benefit it, and aggressively intervene into those processes so you can make it to this year 2050. This is when Ray Kurzweil and a number of futurists are predicting that we may achieve biological immortality. We may no longer have to worry about the aging process. And even mainstream publications like the Wall Street Journal are talking about the merger of our brains into computers, where through the transhumanist technology, we will achieve immortality one way or another. And these are just some recent articles. This is May 2018. The media is picking up on the fact that people are going to start living longer and they may live forever. And I had a nice article about us, our church, in Popular Science, May 2018, just a month ago. This is still in the newsstands, by the way, where the reporter came into this church. He interviewed me extensively. He went around the country interviewing the world's foremost experts on anti-aging medicine and age reversal research. And for the first time, I think ever, there was a lot of concurrence within this article that what we're talking about at this church is being recognized in the scientific community. So this has been this is truly a biomedical renaissance, what we're in the midst of. And just think, when the Renaissance started around 1400 AD, people didn't know this was the beginning of a renaissance, but we're here to tell you we are in the midst of this biomedical renaissance. We've got more people living to 100 than at any other time in history. We've got fewer people dying from some of the most common ailments. So we are winning this war against aging, and the media is recognizing this. And this is something that's taken us a heck of a long time to do, and I think a lot of the people in this panel can appreciate the long history where we had a lot of critics who debated whether or not diet had any role whatsoever in disease causation. I'll never forget a TV show I saw when I was maybe 13 years old. Nathan Pritikin was debating a mainstream cardiologist, and the mainstream cardiologist said there is absolutely no role in what you eat having anything to do with how long you live or whether we get heart attacks. And Nathan Pritikin was citing one study after another showing that if you do eat healthy, you're going to avoid heart attack risk dramatically. Nathan Pritikin actually reversed his coronary atherosclerosis through a very aggressive dietary intervention. So there's no question we are winning this war, and I'm grateful, even though I'm turning 64 really soon, to be around early enough to see the ridiculous debates where the doctors were saying you can eat whatever you want and it doesn't matter, and now the science is turning around to point out the truth. And I'm going to conclude with the prophetic letter that Benjamin Franklin wrote about the fact that at some point in the future, he predicted that pretty much all diseases, including those related to aging, they're going to be eradicated. People are going to live a lot longer and a lot healthier. It's happening a lot sooner right now than maybe he even predicted, but it is happening. So I want to thank everyone for attending tonight. This has been a tremendous outpouring. I think we filled out our parking lot there with the cars, and it's a very impressive, very impressive. We started this church in 2013. It started out very slow, and we're now pretty much packing the entire building. We thank you.
Good job. Thank you.
Mr. Bill Falloon, thank you. Thank you very much. It's always great to hear what you have to say, and it's wonderful to see you in Popular Science this month's issue. Go to the newsstands, you'll see him in there. It's great. We actually have a copy back there in the glass window. So now we have the 5-minute wrap-up. I don't know where you're going, folks, because you're about to miss maybe the best part of the evening, and I think we'll start with Brian. Brian, do you want to speak from there? I hope that mic is live. Yes.
Number one, I want to tell you how proud I am of you and the work that you've done to expose the truth. And, you know, I can tell you there's very few people who had the courage and the guts and perseverance and the wherewithal, intellectually, business-wise, to do what you've done. So I think we should give this man a standing ovation, number one. And I've watched him afar over the years, and they did everything but crucify this guy. But as you said, now you're being looked at as a forerunner in the scientific community. And by the way, you're going to be looked at in the near future as the founder of lifestyle longevity. No question about this as far as, because the scientists are still behind you. They're lagging behind on this. So what I'd like to say, it's always a great thing to come out and have colleagues and like-minded people come together and share our experience. You know, I was a lucky young guy because I was as sick as you can get. I was as big and fat and smoking cigarettes and stoned all of the time when I was just 18, 19 years old. And right here in South Florida, I met my first mentor, Lillian Galton. And Lillian Galton really was a tremendous influence on me. She said to me, you don't have to be like that. You don't have to be sad. And I said, I'm not sad, I'm tough. She said, you're not tough. You're hiding your weakness in the fat around you. And she said to me something that was shocking and stunning, because being a Catholic kid, Irish Catholic kid, whenever I heard the word cancer, people were laying in a casket. We had big families, so there were a lot of caskets with dead bodies with cancer in it. And she said, you know, I healed cancer 4 decades earlier. And I thought she was making it up, but she was 72 years old, and I was 19 years old, and I knew she wasn't. And right here in Hollandale, she said, you have to come to my nutrition workshop meeting. So I thought I'd see 2 or 3 other older people like her, and she opened the door at a bank here on Hollandale Beach Boulevard, and there were 250 people in there that all had story after story after story. And she led me to move into this field, this education, and it was difficult because I had to study with some of the greats. You know, Bernard Jensen, one of the great teachers of his time, and Paul Bragg, who, when I saw that man speak, I said, I've got to be like him when I grow up. And our founder, Ann Wigmore, who reversed catastrophic cancer after Harvard gave her 90 days to live. And the list goes on and goes on and goes on. And I'm like you. I think the greatest minds in science today have to marry with us, the lifestyle people, because holistic means everything good, not what you choose, what you cherry pick. So my mind is open to the greatest. Stem cells are shockingly amazing to me. I see them in my work helping to reverse catastrophic disease. I see people come out of pain they've been in for 50 years from 1 or 2 injections of stem cell. And we're just at the beginning. We're in kindergarten with stem cells at this point. And when you start to come up with the ideas from the great minds, the people who are thinking way, way out of the box, these people know there's not even a box. Hold on, as they're telling you. Every time I'm here, they say something that I completely resonate with. Hold on. Live healthy. Survive another couple of decades, and believe me, we may live forever at that point. So thanks for having this and having us all tonight.
You know, it seems like a lot of times we're living longer, but I wonder, are we actually dying longer? How old is it that we really stop running and jumping and laughing and screaming? What age of it is it that we're really having great sex? What age of it is that we're not skiing? We're not scuba diving. We're not mountain biking. What age is that? About 40 years old? It almost seems like around 35, 40 years old, we actually start dying. We're just surviving. That's not the way it should be. Most animals in nature live perfectly like they're 18 years old until about 30 days before they die. So we should be doing the same. Up until about 30 days before we die, we should be running at full steam. Should be able to swimming at full steam, jumping, running, having great sex, whatever it may, lots of energy, feeling great, feeling wonderful, living with vitality. This whole thing of us surviving is just crap. It isn't right. And I think we just kind of come to accept it. But we should be living with lots of energy, lots of enthusiasm, and lots of passion. We are the only species on this earth that around 35, 40, about halfway through our life, we just completely change. But we are made to completely rip right through our life until about 30 days before we die. And that's a big part, I think, what we're all missing on, is that for some reason we've accepted this complacency in the way that we live our lives, in the way that we feel every day, the way that we see, the way that we think, that we hear. And it all can change because we're made to live with lots of vibrancy. We're made to see vivid, hear vivid, feel vivid, love vivid, but we just don't. We just start dying much younger than we should. We're living longer. I just wonder, are we really, really living? You know, there's lots of people out there still snow skiing at 90 years old. Lots of people are still scuba diving at 95 years old. Lots of people are out there still biking their butts off at 100 years old. A lot of people are jogging, still running marathons at 90, 95, 100 years old. Playing tennis, 105 years old. There's a lot of it going on. And that's what we should strive for. Think about it. Thank you.
Now, as promised, Ben Best to continue his PowerPoint.
Here's the, what, second? All right, I'm going to revise what was originally in this presentation. I don't think really much of protein. Children need a lot of protein, but adults don't. And as a matter of fact, calorie restriction, which is probably the most widely recognized way to extend your lifespan and health span, at least half of the benefit of calorie restriction is due to protein restriction. And as far as the protein is concerned, the worst culprit is causing damage is the single amino acid methionine. And I unfortunately I searched pretty hard for foods having the lowest amount of methionine, and I think lentils and especially pinto beans come to the top of the list. But unfortunately, I took my pinto bean slide out. And anyway, I tried some boiled eggs. This isn't really very informative, and scrambled eggs, and but then organic lactose-free cream cheese. That really did a good job on not raising my glucose, and actually this does not, you don't get a lot of galactose with this stuff. It's really good stuff. You know, the fats go up and the ketones go way up. And unfortunately, the lactose-free sour cream isn't as good. Anyway, as an experimentalist, I haven't brought myself to eat any meat, and I've decided now I'm going to eat some meat and do this experiment eating some meat. So I just need to try everything. Liquids, let's see. I just tried some. I would drink a liter of these liquids. So there's flax milk, which is really good, I think, in terms of not raising the glucose, and compared to a lot of liquids. Soy milk. I did not raise my glucose very much, and the worst actually turned out to be V8 juice, which raised my glucose quite a bit. So anyway, and berries, I've been eating a lot of berries. I'm really convinced of the benefits of the phytochemicals in berries, but they all raise your glucose quite a bit. And I've probably gone overboard on these experiments and done myself a lot of harm. Pistachio nuts, not too bad. It does lower the ketones quite a bit. It's a bit mysterious. It doesn't affect the glucose much, but anyway. And then walnuts. Once again, I tried initial high glucose and initial low glucose. And the benefits of having initial low glucose, you get much more ketone benefit from having low initial glucose and doing these experiments. Pili nuts are 80% fat, and as you see, it raises the fat and the ketones. And then I like this seed butter. Anyway, I won't. Anyway, these are my lab results, because the proof of the pudding is sort of in the lab results. And I was dropping the hemoglobin A1C is really that's your blood cells last about 4 months, and if you've got a lot of glucose in your veins, it's going to cause your A1C to go up. And unfortunately, I've been eating too many berries, and it's reversed the downward trend. But I have extremely low levels of C-reactive protein, which very low levels of inflammation. My blood cell count is low. My triglycerides are not; they're quite low. Uric acid all these other measures of good biomarkers, except for the glucose, have been terrific. And when I do a angioscreen look for coronary arteries, I have hardly any arterial sclerosis. And this is to show you, I fasted for nearly a week just to show you the trend. And the trend is that the ketones go up and the glucose goes down the longer you do it. And also, I just thought I'd show you. I managed. You're supposed to be a diabetic and have a prescription to get this device, but I was wearing this at Hippocrates and checking out my blood glucose response to foods. I have this medical device. Whoops. There it is. There it is. And it's showing my blood glucose, so I always know what my blood glucose is and how it's responding.
Thank you, Ben. Jeff?
Yeah, okay. So I know this is an anti-aging, and you've heard me talk about the benefits of diet and exercise, which I think are the utmost of importance. But I'm very into the herbs and plants of this planet that have some very specific effects. As a long-term vegan, I was, one of the two big things is where do you get your protein, and of course, omega-3s. Those were the two big concerns. So on a plant-based diet, I set out to find the best of the best in these two categories. And fortunately, I was able to find them both. There is an incredible plant that grows in the UK. It's called ahi flower. I won't bore you with the big long name, but it was called stone seed. And the seed is so hard, it's hard enough to break your teeth if you bite it. So that's why it's never been in the market up until just recently. We brought it, I was the very first company to bring it to market in the United States, and it won the Nexty Awards, the top supplement award in the United States. A breakthrough in plant-based nutrition in that it was clinically proven side-by-side test to flax, which is the #1 consumed most omega-3, as 400% more effective than flax at increasing EPA in the bloodstream, actually intracellularly, which is the most important part. Amazing breakthrough. They went head-to-head with fish oil and found it as anti-inflammatory and as immune-boosting as fish oil. No other plant has ever shown to do that in an omega-3 category. A huge, huge breakthrough for omega-3 nutrition. I'm proud to be the very first company to launch that. The second was protein. We heard about methionine. Cysteine is another one of the issues, cysteine, homocysteine, methionine. It's very interesting to see methionine. Methionine is generally higher in animal products, and it's a specific amino acid in the protein makeup. Same with cysteine, where plants are generally lower in those two amino acids. Cysteine has been, along with homocysteine and its biochemical changes, related to a crystalline structure that actually scratches the inside of our arteries, which can lead to abrasions, which give a place for plaquing to begin. So we now know that it's not just the protein that you're eating, it's what's in that. I have a patent in the first amino acid profile of human muscle tissue in a product. So I've been fascinated by the content, the breakdown of the amino acids and what they do in the human body. I was fortunate to find this plant, which is funny because it's a weed. It's actually called duckweed. That is the most nutrient-dense plant we've ever found, actually even higher in nutrition and nutrient density than kale, spinach, spirulina, chlorella, even moringa, believe it or not. It is higher in protein than any other known plant. It's almost 55% protein content, so it's a phenomenal plant. It's ecologically grown, it's pulled off the water, and this plant grows in 48 hours, from a spore to a full-grown plant in 2 days. That is sustainable. It can be harvested 365 days of the year. It can be a near complete food source with 25% of your calcium, 50% of your iron, 190% of the carotenoids that you need, beta carotene. It's just a phenomenal. I was the first to bring to this, and we won the Next Award this year, again in 2018, for the best new supplement of the year out of all supplements launched in the United States. But the real hero are these plants. These plants are, you know, I applaud everybody on here, and we're all, to some degree or another, touting the benefits of these plants. These plants are the true heroes, and that's my heroes. I just like to be the messenger and bring some of these amazing nutrient-dense plants to market and help you have access to them to improve your nutrition. Thank you.
I'll just talk from here.
Okay, Becca.
So with all that's been said and done, it can get so confusing with all these nutrients, with all these oils, with all these plants, with all the extra things you want to do. So what we need to do is just break it down, keep it simple, eat good food, right? And exercise, clear our minds. So I want to ask you, how are you starting your day? I'm going to go back to the beginning. How do you start your day and how do you end your day? Because most people, when they look at their end of their day and they look in the mirror, they don't see satisfaction. They see areas that they did not hold themselves up to accountable. They did not invigorate their lives. They did not enjoy their lives. Much like Scott said, are you thriving or are you surviving? And so if we're going to live longer, don't you think you want to live happier? You know, what is it that you're doing that will compound both of those areas together? You've got to increase and you've got to move. That's proven. You've got to make sure that you nourish your body, your mind, and your spirit. If you leave one area out, then you might as well just, you know, you're just not having the perfect life that God intended you to have. I can say God in here, right? So many times I'm not allowed to talk about God. I love talking about God. I'm a God's girl. Who's a God's girl guy out there? Yeah, amen. So in expanding yourself and keeping it simple, you know, there's phytonutrients, there's estrogen adaptogens, there's things that can, while you're trying to increase and support your life, there's things that will also diminish your life. And just because something says organic or natural, it doesn't mean that it's healthy. So there's a lot of fallacy out there. Does anybody here even know how to read a nutrition label? Do you know what you're eating? What's the number one thing that you look at when you look at a nutrition label? Most people look at calories. Ingredients. That's right. The first thing you should look at is the ingredients. Can you even read the ingredients? Can you expound on what that ingredient is going to do for you? Because if you don't know what's going to do for you, if it's some made-up kind of crazy man-made infused ingredient, I'd say don't have it. Brian talked about all these vitamins and nutrients that are out there that are man-made in laboratories. Why take something that is man-made when you can have something? I got to look up duckweed because I'm a big moringa lover. Moringa, to me, and hemp, you know, and CBD oil, these are amazing things. They can change the whole world, the whole culture. They can feed a person, and they can clothe them, and they can house them. Why are we not spending more time on simplifying our lives? It doesn't have to be so complicated. Be a healthy habit hacker. Be an advocate of your own self. You know what you need and you know what to do. Do it.
One more time for our panel. What a great panel. You know, I hope we can have each of you back and have you get the whole evening. You had so much to share, and I certainly appreciate it. It's been great tonight. Thank you for that. Now, yes. Remember, if you want to sign up for the Rad Fest, be sure to see me, talk to Paul, get with Doug, get with someone who's been there. We'll be happy to help you with that. Again, next month, on July 26th, we'll have our first potluck. Bring your best dishes. It's going to be an open microphone night. Bring your best healthy ideas. We're going to have a 30-minute presentation of a movie. So the next July and August is going to be a movie night, potluck, open microphone night, and you can be sure to follow this on our websites. And if you'd like to get the free Healing World magazine, they're available tonight only for the next year. You can sign up for that. If you'd like to receive information about our upcoming events, be sure to give us your proper emails and information. We're so glad that you came tonight. We have prepared a 5-star dinner tonight. Many vegan options. Where did Brian go? And many, many vegan options tonight, as well as other alternatives to vegan options. And we're going to do a quick photograph up here. If you could, panel, stay with me just for a couple of more minutes. Brian and Bill, if you could join us on the stage. And my photographer, Fabio, we're ready for you, Fabio. Thank you for coming, and we'll see you next month.